Hi guys, welcome back to the garden after a couple of month hiatus. I didn't have any time over the last couple of months to do some videos. Work's still been quite busy. We also had a death in the family, so I took a couple of months off to help out my wife get through everything. So we are now early to mid-August, so we're coming towards the peak of the season for the tropical plants. So we're going to have a little quick walk around and see what's happening in the garden at the moment. So the pond has had a couple of clear outs this summer, but the blanket is continuing to grow quite heavily, even using dyes. So I've picked up a UV clarifier, but naturally the weekend I picked up the UV clarifier, the pump got to the point where it was whirring but wasn't actually sucking any water through, so I think it's clogged up, so that's just been turned off. The rheum I'm not particularly happy with at the moment. It's kind of gone past its best, as you can see from these ginormous flower spikes here. I've not been able to water the garden really this year, and it's been an incredibly dry year, so you can probably see how many shoots are in there. If I give it a good water, I'm sure it will start to pick up again, but it's also coming over quite a bit and is now kind of swamping my daylily, and obviously that's where I have my Eucalyptus vulgaris in there as well, and it's just swamped over that. So I may either remove the rheum or remove the Eucalyptus and then just have some kind of spring flowering bulbs or something in there, and they can die back when the rheum starts to take over. Up here in all the pots, the garden's doing okay again. I gave everything a really good water on Sunday because this week we've got another heat wave coming. This poor old Brizia has kind of been hit a bit hard with the lack of watering, but it's bounced back a bit. It did look lovely this year while it's in flowering. Everything else here is doing okay though. Even this Salix, bless it, is being hit quite hard with the lack of watering. They're normally pretty bulletproof. My lilies this year got absolutely decimated by lily beetle. I just didn't have the time to keep on top of picking them off, so they've just been left to it. This yucca has finally met its match and has finally collapsed down the bottom there. I don't know if you can actually see it, but it's completely rotted off down there, so this will get moved out of the way, and I'll see if I can get it to root, and then I'll put it in a pot for a little bit, and then bindweed is starting to take over. I've cleared that a couple of times. These lilies did do okay and did flower quite nicely. They were like tiger lilies, so bright orange with the speckles on them. And the canna has finished flowering at the back there as well. One thing that has done really quite well is this little sedum that I stuck in this pot. I'm not sure exactly what variety it is, but it was something like rainbow something or other. My cheap little begonias that I planted at the beginning of the season have done really well, considering they've not really been watered too much. And actually it's nice to see that my wisteria has bounced back, because that was incredibly crispy the other day, as has that one. That's bounced back as well. I did do a day's work in the garden. I cleared out all of the old dead spotted fronds like these ones to give the new ones some space to come through. So this volcano is looking quite good. My ferns down here are doing okay, or this one I should say is doing okay. This one and that one not quite so well, but I've been giving them a lot of water recently, so hopefully they will bounce back. The figs have done incredibly well. We've actually had a couple of figs off of them. We actually had quite a large group of hornets preying on all of the bugs. And actually I see another couple of figs up there that I need to pick off, which would be good. Oh, I can see a hornet up on that rotten one. So this bit down here is looking really good with the little Buddha statue. The smoke bush is looking good, and the Eucalyptus is looking absolutely glorious at this time of year. Really goes, the pink in the Eucalyptus here catches the pink in the cotinus stems, so it looks really good together. And down the side here, this Brugmansia, bless it, has been kept in this pot, but we are getting some flower buds, so I've given it some water and stuff, and I've just top dressed it with some grass clippings. The beds in here have done okay. The one at the back of the Lismachia has not done quite so well, as I get attacked by a wasp. Yeah, it's not done quite so well because it just doesn't get quite as much water into it, because it's a bit more awkward to get down to. But the is doing exactly what I wanted it to, which is to stand up over the back of the fence there and then kind of provide a interest path all the way up to the top of the Phyllostachus over there. Be interesting actually, because my Impatiens was very wilty yesterday and I watered it, and it is still very watery, very weepy, bless it, but you know, it's all firm, but it just dries out so quickly here. It just doesn't like being dry for more than 2 days. Needs constant watering, so I might have to make a point of trying to remember now that I've got a bit more time again. And then down here you will notice that my Phyllostachus now has a ditch around the side of it, and you can kind of see there the remains of another little ditch, and you can probably guess what happened here. I noticed a little kind of knuckle just sticking out of the top of the soil down here somewhere, and I thought, oh, so that's had to have the whole thing dug out of it. But this whole area is going to get a redo over summer, for summer next year. This might very well be going to a different part of the garden where I can do a very large bed for it, because it's already, you know, reached both ends and starting to fill it up quite quickly. Then we come down to the summer house. The summer house is doing quite well at the moment. It's a nice shady part of the garden. So I've had a little tidy out and threw a couple of little pots of things I'd completely forgotten about and had died off, but everything else is doing okay, and I'm going to be trying to get things in the ground this afternoon. My Insetti that I just stuck in the tub here, again, you know, it doesn't have huge amounts of water, but it's done really quite well. I've been very happy with it this year. The new addition to the garden down here seems to have done quite well. We've got a few new fronds come out this year, so I'm hoping if we can get it to overwinter nicely, that next year it will do even better. The Melianthus major is doing okay over there. Then through here the begonia is doing really well, and then this Trichus has been flowering, the little toad lily, and it's really pretty. Not very big flowers, but just kind of orchid like. And the gunner over the back again has kind of struggled the last month or two without getting regular watering, but it's holding on because it's in shade for most of the day. And one of the things for the pond is going to be finishing off and redoing this back area, because there's a low point on the other end of the pond and this bridge is starting to rot away, and I've got the ladder out because the tree from the neighbour's garden is probably a good 15 foot hanging over now, so that needs a prune back. But the pond is not looking too bad, considering I've kind of realistically neglected it quite a bit. The good thing is I do have a hose pipe permanently on the tree fern, so I can literally just turn it on as and when I feel like I need to. So that had about half an hour on Sunday, so that'll be good for another couple of days. And I see that the wag over the back is in seed by the looks of it. The thalia's got some flowers on, the water lily's flowering. The Scheffler Blessed has struggled a little bit with the lack of water and the hot dry summer, but the hibiscus has absolutely loved it. It's been in flower for the last, I don't know, probably 2 weeks now. So I've got a couple more that are in pots that were new plants over winter, so they are starting to come into flower because they're just a little bit further behind. And this bed is kind of a raggedy and of various things at the moment, mostly the canna, and then a little bit of the crops that we just didn't get around to this year. So I think these are patty pans, so we've got the little fruits forming on them. Move that spiky off of the lawn, sorry Bumble. And then I'm not actually sure what this is, but I was pleasantly surprised when it overwintered without any problems, and then it has these glorious little tubular red flowers with like yellow throats. So I know they were fairly easily to divide, so I think probably next year they'll get divided if they, because I've got another little one back there that's not flowering. If I can get them to grow a little bit bigger next year, then I'll probably look at dividing them and starting to split them throughout this entire bed, and have those, the alstroemeria, the cannas, and then I'm going to fill it with more squashes again next year as a filler plant. And still needing the netting everywhere, unfortunately. I'll show you in a minute, but the rabbits are still rampant everywhere. This phormium is actually a new one. The old one is in a pot up on the patio. It, bless it, I completely forgot to water it. With it being such a dry winter in its first winter in the ground, it struggled really badly. So I've replaced it, and I'm just trying to revive the old one. This Insetta you can see is, you know, fuller than the one that's in the pot, but it's not particularly any bigger. So I think it's just a case of just needing to water and water more. And then the dahlia that always does well for me is out in flower. It's been flowering for, gosh, probably 6 weeks now at least. And then my wife, bless her, repotted the grapevines for me. There's one here and one over to the side of that bench, and they are doing significantly better, having been repotted. And then one of my purchases from last year, this is a ginger. This is Hedychium spicatum. I thought I'd lost this over winter, but thankfully a little bit of the rhizome made it through. And then this is my wife's Salvia concertiflora, yeah. So this is doing okay, not particularly big, again much like the ginger. And my sunchokes in this pot, they were left in the greenhouse without water for a very, very long time this spring. So they've come out so that when they do have rain, they at least get a bit of water. And then my pink china, bless it, got hit very hard by spider mite about a week or so ago now. I did have to give it a dose of pest killer, and then I've cut all the leaves back, and you can see the new ones are just starting to unfurl with hopefully no pests on them. This one will probably be a better, or this one a better kind of thing. I gave them a really good soak last night. This one has actually managed to completely avoid any of those problems. I think it's just wants more watering regularly again. So that will be on my list of jobs to do now. And then the gingers, I never seem to have much luck with getting gingers to flower. I know they're normally towards the end of the season, but yeah, unless I start them in the greenhouse and really go for it, they never seem to flower. But I might have to next year make more of a concerted effort to feed them as well with a liquid feed. My other dahlias are coming through nicely, and then this area of the pond is really needing a thorough weeding. It's far too hot today. It's about 30 degrees I think today here in Suffolk. The oval bed is looking quite good though. The standard humilis is looking really good now. I've cleaned it out a bit. It's a bit more kind of airy again, but there's a lot of fronds poking through. And the tetrapanics, I lifted the crown, but as they do, that started to droop again. We'll come back round to where we started and look at this Niagara bamboo. So you can probably tell I gave it a good clear out and raised the leaf canopy up, and the baby birds, we've got goldfinches and blue tits nesting in the trees around us. They love coming in here now, so it's been a really good bonus from that. And this bed has done quite well this year. The pink china canna has never really got going. I presume it's just far too much shade for it. But the Roscoea, you can see here, is finished flowering. That looked absolutely gorgeous. I definitely need to get some more of these purpurea ones. I want these down in the bed that we'll go to in a minute. And the Salvia amistad that overwintered has done incredibly well. Don't remember Salvia amistad getting to probably 6 foot tall, but it still looks good. Lots of flowers coming on it. I might lift it next year in spring to a more suitable location, and that might give the pink china more light to be able to grow a little bit more in there, and especially if I remove, a few bits and pieces in the way. Passion fruit has gone really well this year. Done really well overwintered, which is one of the few times that it's actually overwintered without putting in effort. We've had a couple of flowers, not many, but a couple. And then the Achillea mollis bears breeches is well and truly past its best now. I probably just need to give it a chop back and then water it and let it reshoot, and we'll just have a smaller amount of good quality green leaves. And then on this side, where I pulled out the old one, you can see it's doing really well from all the bits that I've missed, but it does mean that it's going to take over where the hydrangea is, so I need to actually get in here and try and remove them, or what will probably more likely happen is I'll protect all the stuff around it with some cardboard, and then I might just give it a dose of foliar weed killer, because every little bit of root just continuously grows. I was going to make a video on the barbecue this year of how it was all done, but unfortunately that's kind of just fallen on the wayside. So it's still got a bit more to go. I need to give it another coat of paint because this is too light. Then obviously the barbecue has got to go in, and then it needs a wood top, and then some doors and things fitted on. But I am pleased to announce that the Fatsia polycarpa has come through the poor leaf growth that it had earlier on in the year, and has done quite well. This black bamboo, I forgot to water this yesterday, so I need to come water that. That's why it's looking sad. And then here's one of the hibiscus that I was talking about earlier. That's the new plant for this year. Then I've got some that have just finished flowering here, and then This one looks like it's going to be a dark rose, kind of red wine colour, but the blueberries in here have done significantly better. So I think this one's going to be removed, maybe replace it with a new one. This little thing here is because my dog stood on one of my few Echium seedlings that's coming through, although I did notice another one over there at the bottom of the quartern steel edging, so there's a few of them about. This Brugmansia has got some flowers coming on it, so that would be good to see in a few weeks time. But I'm wanting to get a replacement bench for this old one in here, have the two tetrapanics grow up either side of it, and then maybe have the grapevine grow up and over a pagoda arch type thing for the chair for next year. The Eucalyptus that I divided off the mother plant has taken very well, so I've got another Eucalyptus here to plant out. You can't really, I think on the video it's actually coming up better than in the daylight, but there's a little bit of veining here, but it's actually more light green and dark green variegated more than anything. My main Eucalyptus plant, apart from in spring, never seems to have, you know, the red come through. This bed is looking okay. I need to get some more big filling plants in here really, but the tree canopy is starting to do okay. The Indian bean tree, the catalpa, is doing very well. That never has any problems, and the few elders, the black elders, are doing well. And then this is doing better again here now off of this, but you can see this looks to have become the main growth for this eucalyptus, whereas these ones are really struggling, so that might have to go up that way somewhere. I'm still not even convinced whether that's going to be kept there. That might just go into a large pot, and then find another large tall tree / shrub to go here. The standard weedy elder tree needs to come out, but down here is the evidence of the rabbits continuously having a problem. This has been in all summer with no problems, and then a few weeks ago I came down and they dug right down and obviously ripped all the roots off of this poor fern, so it set that back. This standard green Roscoea is doing well. No flowers on it unlike the purple one, and it does just blend in a little too much here, so this might go somewhere else where I'm not worried about having flowers. And then the purple one will go in here with the purple flowers, and then you got the dark of the elder, the dark reddy purple on the underside of the ligularias. And then down here, this is really just fit for being ripped out now, I think. The rabbits absolutely demolish these black mondo grasses and the carex grasses whenever they get a chance. I don't see us sorting out the rabbit problem probably ever, to be fair. It's just too easy for them to come in from various places. But I am wondering about removing this bamboo anyway, because it's going to get too big if I look after it properly with the acer tree there and then the trellis here. And the same on this side. This one has never really done well, although there is a lovely new cane coming through now, so maybe it's going to come back a little bit. But this whole bed here, that I've never been sure what I'm going to do with it. But this I'm thinking is going to have the yellow Eucalyptus vivax bamboo moved in down here, and then it can have this whole space. I'll put in a nice big bamboo barrier, and then I can just load it up with manure once a year and just really get it going and pump on water. And then that can be the backdrop here for this whole side, and then through there, no idea what we're doing still. Little bit of a problem with the Clematis ormandii in that it's starting to die off. I think, and the general consensus is just that it's just got too hot and dry, but it is starting to climb up the plant where it is. So we'll see. I'll make a point of giving it water every few days. You know, if I follow this stem up, you can see I've marked where the stem is up to, but then this growth is completely fine. No real damage there at all. A little bit of dry tip, but other than that, no problems whatsoever. So fingers crossed. It's just sulking because it's height of summer and I've not had a chance to water, and it will bounce back with some watering. And then this whole bit down here is just not really changed at all this year. Just not had the time. All the little fruits are all still here. I've not even had a chance to sweep them up. And then down here for the paddock area, I did manage to clear out all the weeds underneath those bags. They were there. There's a whole load of bindweed, so I need to sort that all out and get them back. And then the chicken run is going to be built over winter and spring next year. I did get around to redoing some of the compost piles to make them a bit more secure. Lifted the onions because they'd all flopped over, and weeded it, and then just covered it with some mesh to keep it shaded, mostly because I put about an hour's worth of hose pipe on that last night, and this morning it was still real bone dry. And then you can see the pile of weeds that I've had from the potatoes, that, considering we haven't really done an awful lot to them, have actually done reasonably well. The plants are a reasonable size, so I've got my fingers crossed we might actually have a half decent harvest of potatoes in about a month's time probably. And then we've got 2 beds in there of tomatoes that have done reasonably well. I went through over the weekend and kind of just basically tidied them up kind of thing, and then mulched them with grass clippings after a really heavy soaking. But yeah, that's really it. But there's not an awful lot of hopeful stuff that going on. I haven't had time to do work in the day or two a week, and I can start getting on top of it, ready to keep it tidy into winter. And then over the winter we can get some big projects going again, and I can bring you some videos for those.